Do it's Camdork.
Hello everyone, this is Camdork, and welcome to episode number 55 of Season 2 of my Buildcraft, where we play Minecraft with the mods Buildcraft, Thermal Expansion, and Forestry. So guys, in episode number 54 we put in these guys. These little things right here, as you see, well, they're robots. So we started our robot empire by first placing into the world our very first robots, which are these guys. They are tank robots. So we put them in just for fun because we wanted a way of getting oil into this tank from a tank that was being pumped near the geyser. That's about 200 blocks that way. Yes, we could move the oil from that tank to here via tesseracts. We could also use just pipes, run-of-the-mill liquid pipes, but those two ways are boring and not fun and don't involve robots, so I didn't want to do it. So I wanted to use robots, and we did it. It was awesome, they worked, and it was great. And then I updated to 7.0.17, and in doing so, well, some things changed. Because actually, what was happening was when I put the robots in the world, if you recall from episode 54, I was a bit surprised because they're kind of supposed to avoid all blocks and sort of find their way into the station by avoiding blocks. But what they actually ended up doing was just going directly to the station, passing through all solid blocks, and they're actually not supposed to do that. So I actually reported that as a bug, and it was fixed. So now, well, the robots can't find where they're going. So now that's actually, we have to fix this as an issue. But this is how the robots are designed to work. They're not able to go past a path length of 96 blocks. So that means that if they have to travel farther than 96 blocks to get to the station, they won't be able to find it. So they can't find work within 96 blocks of themselves, so they just go right back. If I turn them on, they kind of try, and then they just go right back to sleep. So, how do we fix this? Well, we're going to go ahead and demonstrate the solution, which is actually pretty simple. I think we can get it to work. And I'll demonstrate a simple situation solution in the creative world, and then we'll come back here and do a little bit more of a complicated solution. So, let's go ahead into creative and see if we can fix this issue. All right. Hello, 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 here we are. We're back in the creative world where we were last episode, messing around with robots, and we're going to do the same in this episode. We're not going to mess around with them in the exact same way, but we are going to mess around with transporting fluids over very long distances using robots. So how we do that is, of course, going to be limited by their range, and we're going to have to build something along the lines of waypoints. Now, how do we use waypoints? Well, you notice I'm following a robot around here, and it's been giving instructions to just basically go around in a square, as you see here. I think it's a square. Maybe it's just a rectangle. Who knows? I didn't measure the thing. But anyways, it's going around in a rectangle of sorts, and you might be wondering how it's doing that. And it's actually a very, very, very simple thing, and that is each one of these stations, you'll notice it's green, and then right before the robot gets to it, it turns red. Well, if you didn't know, there's 3 different states that a station can be in. It can be in a green state, which is basically available. Robots can go here. It can be in the red state, as you see these things are before the robot gets there, and that means it's linked. Linked means essentially it is assigned as a home base for one robot. And then there's reserved, which means the station is reserved for a robot which is on its way there. But it's not its home base. So you'll notice that these things turn red before the robot gets to them, and that's because the robot is being given instructions. So when it lands into each one of these stations, it's given in the instruction to go to the next station. And this go to command effectively links the robot. It calls that next station its home, and then it says go home. So the go-to station really means kind of like go home, go to your linked station, and this go-to station can, if you associate it with a specific point with a map location, it can actually assign the robot to that specific station. So map locations, just to kind of review, you can assign them as an area using a zone planner, which is how we got robots to work in a specific area. You can also assign it a particular region by using landmarks. So you can do it in a three-dimensional space or just 2D like this. So if I right-click on this one right here, it assigns the one of the corner points, and then it tells the region is 3 in the x direction, 1 block in the y direction, and 3 blocks in the z direction. So it's a square. It's a square that's 1 block tall. And then if you click a specific block, you'll actually get a specific point and the face of the block. You'll notice this is indicating it's the up face of the block, which also means if you click on a station, it assigns that specific station as that block. So if we wanted to, say, add this station to this little, this little pattern here, we would want this gate to, we would want this gate to say that don't go to that station, go to this station. And then this gate, we would say go to this station. So we'll do that right now. We'll just do that really simply. So first we'll set this map location marker to this station. And then I'll set this gate up. So it's going to say if robot is in station, go to station, that map location, which was assigned that station right there. And now I'm going to assign this docking station, being careful to just right-click on the docking station itself. I'm going to change this one to read, instead of that map location, it's going to read that. So what's going to happen? We should now have 5 stations in this little sequence. There it goes. Hey, there it goes. Okay, so that's how that works. We're going to be using the go-to station and a specific station function in order to get our robots to do what we want them to do. Okay, so with that, with that little lesson, let's continue on to solving our problem. So here is our problem. Now, we just learned about the go-to station command and how that works, but we have to know a little bit about the behavior of robots before we figure out how to solve our problem. So if I put a robot right here onto this station, I have this set up to, when I turn on this blue pipe wire, it's going to work in area, it's going to work in the desert area. That includes this tank, which is where we will ask the robot to pull fluids from, and the tank way over there, which has a docking station that he can drop liquids off to. Now, the distance between these two docking stations is more than 96 blocks. It's like 110 or so. And so, in the previous version of Buildcraft, when I turn on this switch, the robot will come up, find the station, go here, pathfind to it, so avoid all blocks to it, start pumping some liquid out, and then once it's done pumping, it will identify that it needs to go over here, but because that station over yonder is farther than 96 blocks away, the pathfinding will fail, and the robot will actually phase through everything. Entities, blocks, it'll go through land, anything you build in between, it'll just go right through it. That's not the way it's designed to work, and so they fixed that bug, but of course that means we have a little issue, and you'll see what happens now. So what's supposed to happen is that if pathfinding fails, the robot basically is told to go home. So from the home base, which is the linked station, that's why you see it as red, of course. You saw this station briefly was yellow, it was reserved. Not the robot's home base, but a robot destination. So the robot pumped some fluid, now he's going home because once at this station, within 96 blocks of that station, there's no work for the robot. Because remember, that station over there is like 110 blocks away. So darn, now the robot goes back to his home base and goes to sleep. And he'll sleep there for, wake up every minute or so, just to check to see if there's any more work. Every minute they wake up. But that's not what we want. We want the robot to actually get to work. So there's actually a pretty simple solution to this. Now, if you have two tanks that are farther than 96 blocks away, but less than double that distance, and you'll see why, you can, right in the middle, just quite simply fix this by placing right in the middle a waypoint station. So this waypoint station is going to be, actually I'm going to assign this waypoint station as the new home for our robot. And so you'll see what will happen. So this station, within 96 blocks of this home station, you can see the tank that he's supposed to pull from, and the tank that we want him to drop off the liquid to. So when I place the robot down within 96 blocks, it immediately sees this station over there. And so now you see this is how the problem is instantly solved very easily. You just assign in the middle a waypoint station for the robot to go to that is actually the home station. And now the final thing with this that you'd have to fix is that, well, at least in some regard, when you want the robot to continue working, it would be nice if the robot didn't sit here for a full minute. So when the robot is sleeping here, we just tell him to wake up. And this will mean that every time the robot is here and goes to sleep, it wakes up and starts to go to work again. Of course, if I would actually use this principle in my world, I would, have to probably hook this up to some other sort of smart thing, which would only wake up the robot when I wanted him to actually get to work. But anyway, so the robot went over here, it pumped liquids, and then of course, after it went to this station, it said there is no other station within 96 blocks that I can go to, so I'm just going to go home. And right now he's on his way home. So we'll follow this little guy. Now he's pathfinding on his way home. He's avoiding blocks. If I put blocks in front of the robot, should avoid it, I think. Nope, his path was already defined. That was actually a test. I've never done that before. But it seems like once the robots pathfind anything in between, they say, screw it, I'm going to phase through it. So as you see, as soon as he landed, he actually continued to go on, and, now this'll happen forever. Okay, so that's great. We fixed it, right? Yeah, not quite. Our stations that we want the robots to pump from and to are more than 2 times 96 blocks, so they're greater than 192 blocks away. And so that means we have something of an issue. So how do we fix that? Well, we actually have to have 2 waypoints, but when we do that, we need to have a lot more logic to it. So I'll be right back, and we'll go ahead and go over what we have to do in our case. That was a ton of fun, and so we also learned about robot behavior and how to actually use that to get around what I'll call the 96 block problem. So in order to do that, where you have 2 stations that are farther away than 96 blocks that you want the robots to use, you can just assign their home base as a waypoint in the between them, and the behavior of the robot itself just uses this essentially as a waypoint. Now, this is no big deal. It's an easy, elegant solution for 2 stations that are greater than 96 blocks apart, but less than 192, because after you get to 192, now you need 2 waypoints. And when you need 2 waypoints, the situation is a bit different. So if we again pump from this tank, and we have 2 waypoints, here's one on the desert hill, we'll call that waypoint 1. Waypoint 2, we'll call this one on this grassy hill, and then a full 210 blocks away from the initial tank, way over there, is this other tank where we're going to be using to drop off liquids. So that means that if a robot drops off a liquid successfully there, and then ends up coming back to this as a home waypoint station, the behavior is this. The robot just goes to sleep. Because a full of liquid robot will find this station and be able to drop off liquids, but one that is empty will have no reason to go to that waypoint station, and only when the robot is at that waypoint station will they be able to see that tank way over there in the distance. So we're going to have to get around this, and we're going to have to find a solution to this as an issue. Okay, so let's go ahead and find that solution. And what we basically need to do is, it's all in telling the robots exactly where they need to go. Here we want to almost program a sequence for them. So that's going to be our solution. So I'm going to mark this with the map location, and we're going to go to waypoint 1, and basically tell the robot when it lands at waypoint 1, go to waypoint 2. So this is going to be the sequence of events going from the pumping tank all the way to the drop-off tank. So when it gets to waypoint 1 here, the robot, once it lands, we want it to go to station, and that station needs to be waypoint 2, which we just marked. And now we'll take the map location marker again, mark waypoint 1, and use some logic over here to tell the robot to go, once it's done pumping, to go to waypoint 1. So we can't do that directly. It's not going to be possible, because what we want to happen, What we can't do is say if a robot is in station, go to station waypoint 1, because what that means is that as soon as the robot enters the station and as soon as it's receiving this command, it'll just go to that station, which means it will not pump, and that is of course not a good thing. So what we want is robot work done. Unfortunately, there is no trigger that is robot work done, so we'll have to use our brains and come up with one ourselves. And in this case, it's not going to be a trigger of robot work done, it's just going to be a trigger based on timing. And the timer is going to start when the robot enters the station, and then it'll start to pump its fluids. And then once the timer stops and we send a redstone signal, that is when the robot will go to its station. Now, the key with all of this is that when the robot is placed in the world, we want the robot to use this as the home base station, because all throughout the sequence, it's very important that the robot has this as their home station. If not, then we'd have to be really careful about the timing here. But since this is the home base station of the robot, once it's done pumping, it's basically not going to do anything. And so we'll see the behavior right here of the robot. So once it's done pumping, it's just going to say, guess what? I got nothing to do. I'm going to go to sleep. And now you see then it's asleep until it's given a command to go to that station. So until it receives a redstone signal. So when it receives a redstone signal, this happens. Hey, okay, I'm ready to go to my waypoint. So we want that to happen after a certain time period. So we're going to use a timer to have that happen, and it's going to start when the robot enters into the station. And the timer we're going to use is called a hopper gate timer. I've used this twice before in my world. I kind of introduced it. It is something I kind of came up with. It's a hopper timer, nothing new there, but it's using pipe gates instead of the pistons, so it's a silent timer. And really simple, really easy, able to do a lot of different timings. I love using it. So I'm going to dig an area here. We're going to build one. Actually, I'm going to build one. I'll be right back. So here it is in all its glory. It's a hopper gate timer. And the timer itself doesn't need to be a specific length, although I set 32 blocks in here, so that should be sufficient to allow the robot to do all its pumping that it wants to do. But what we need to do now, and that's what this thing is here, is we need to actually activate it. So when the robot is in station, it'll send out a red pipe signal, which you see here, and that actually is going to send out a redstone signal, because when you power this side, and I kind of forgot this, but when you power this side, the timer starts, and actually this would be still on the whole time, which it can be. That's the nice thing about this. You don't have to send this as a pulse. It can be a solid signal. And once it's done, this side turns on. Now we want the turning on of this side to actually do the triggering to send the robot. If we just run this redstone signal directly to the gate, that's gonna basically tell the robot to go to the station before it even gets there, kinda. So we want this to only turn on and send a pulse when the signal here goes from off to the state of on. And in order to do that, we need another circuit. And this is another one of my favorite circuits. It's called a edge trigger. Yeah, we'll just make it like that. That's no big deal. It is another pretty simple circuit and very, very useful one. So in addition to RS-NOR, this is probably my second favorite one in terms of usefulness. And this is one of my favorite designs of it. It's a very narrow circuit, so that's pretty cool. There's other versions, though, you can make. And in fact, I think we made another one on one of the videos after we put together the power plant. But you'll see what happens now is that if we power this side on, when this side is off, this is off, and when this side is on, this is off, unless it turns on, and you'll see this flicker. Okay, so when this turned on, this pulsed once and then stopped, and that's exactly what we want to happen. So cool. Okay, so there we go. So now it should work. It's actually perfectly fine. This should work absolutely no problem, and we can just place a robot here. So we'll place a robot here. This is the home base now of the robot. So there it goes. It's starting to pump. The timer is on because the robot is in the station. And then when the timer goes off, Oop, there you go. It sent a signal to go to the other station. You saw that what happened was the robot was done pumping and said, screw this, I'm going home and going to sleep. But as soon as he landed, that's when the timer triggered and he was sent to go to waypoint 1. So, okay, so that was actually really good timing. Half a stack is actually perfect for that. So now what's going to happen is the robot's going to go. We're going to follow this guy. He's going to stick around and head to waypoint 1, which is here. And as you notice, it's now his home base. This is now the robot's home base station. Now, the one problem with this approach is that it is a little bit wasteful. And yeah, there are easier ways to do this. We could probably set up some sort of system where we actually have 2 segments. Essentially one robot and a midpoint tank. But this is a solution that does not involve a midpoint tank, and it's pretty elegant, and the solution is nice, so I like it. The only problem here is that we're going to have to use double the stations for more robots, and yeah, it's a little bit more resource intensive, but that's okay. This is going to be a safe way. I'm always a fan of the way in which will most likely never cause a problem afterwards. So after it reaches this station, it now actually will know to go to that station because it can see it. But what we're going to probably do is have this automatically tell the robot to go to that station as its home base. And in fact, we should have done that right now. Darn it. That's okay. No big deal. Because what's going to happen is the robot's going to drop off and then come right back here. So how do we handle the return trip? Well, essentially the same way we handled the trip over to here. So we'll wait for this guy to get over here and start his pumping. So his station is reserved because he's on his way. And there we go. He's going to pump out his liquid and then promptly return home because he will not be able to see any other stations to go to. So now he's heading home. All right, so I'll be right back and we'll talk about the return trip. What to do on the return trip. See you in a minute. So now what to do about the return trip. So our robot friend is going for another pump. So he's sucking fluid out of the tank way over there. He should be on his way back right about now. But while he's doing that, I'll explain what we're going to be doing. So I set the map location to identify that station. So instead of just hitting the station, kind of being able to find it through pathfinding, again, we want to force the robot to use that station. So to do that, we're going to say, oh, he's already on his way. Once the robot is in station, go to the station, and we're going to say go to that one. Okay, so the robot's coming. He's on his way from waypoint 1. Yeah, there he is. There he is. I can just see him now. All right, so the robot's going to come here, and then he's going to be assigned to go over to here. And what you see here is probably pretty similar to what we had before. Again, there's the hopper gate timer and the edge trigger, and it's probably similar because it's actually exactly the same. It is extremely similar because it's exactly the same. This time, when there's space for fluid, go ahead and accept fluids, but it's going to be assigned as the home base once the robot hits that second waypoint. Not yet. But when the robot is in the station, it starts the red pipe signal. The red pipe signal starts the hopper gate timer. The hopper gate timer, once it finishes, sends out, triggers the edge trigger, and the edge trigger triggers a pulse that will change the state of this torch, being from on to off, and then that will say go to station, and that's where we have to answer. What station will it go to? Well, it's actually going to go to another station. We actually can't use the same waypoint stations for both trips, so what we're going to have to do is say go to station, well, go to this station. This is going to be the station that it goes to, so it's going to end up going right here. And again, we'll have to set essentially a return link the same way as a going there link. So it'll be a cycle. So each waypoint actually needs 2. So we're going to go ahead and set that up in our world. So if you don't see how it's going to work, it's going to work basically like this. We'll follow our robots, and then we're going to set it up like that. Okay, take care, and be right back. It's finally time. It's time to solve our problem. So we're back in the world here. There's the robots. This is the place where they can enter and exit that area as they so do choose. These are the stations currently where they will drop off liquid. I I actually want to place these in a different location. So I want to put these in down lower because they're going to have some sort of circuitry around them. So I'm going to actually put them here. They don't need to be up at the top. They can just be kind of lower. I'm just going to put them here and maybe like the one over. Yeah, I'd rather not have that. I don't know. Well, I'll put them down here and I'll kind of hide the circuitry sort of. So I'll be right back. Surprisingly, this took a decent amount of work to fit everything in, but it is all in there. So we have 2 stations, which means we need 2 separate, completely different circuits. One is blue and one is pink, and they both include a hopper gate timer in the back and a edge trigger in the front. You'll notice I'm using the flatter design of the edge trigger. I actually like this design a lot too, and we used this for our power plant behind the assembly table. So the video that I had where I used this first was there, and you can see how it's made. So I'm not going to go into detail about that, but basically it works the same way. When this end turns from off to on, it will send out a pulse. If it's just on, it won't do anything. If it turns off, it won't do anything. Only when it goes from off to on. That's the only time you get a pulse out of this. So, both of these gates are actually receiving redstone signals by default. So they're both set up in essentially this way. In one case, it says there's space for fluids, so go ahead and accept fluids. If a robot is in the station, it will send out a pipe signal. In this case, it's a blue pipe signal. In the other case, it is a red pipe signal. And then when it gets a redstone signal of off, and when it gets that pulsed off signal, it will be told to go to a station, and that particular station will be designated by a map location. So you see, this is the blue line, which goes to start the blue hopper gate timer, and I actually have 36 in here. I noticed that it was just long enough with 32, so I gave it 36 just for a little buffer of extra happiness. And likewise, this is going to start the red one, again with 36 pieces of items in there. The same circuits here, and like you see, this torch turns off when it's given a pulse, and this torch turns off when it's given a pulse, which will change the status of the redstone like I was just talking about. So anyways, let's go ahead and actually set up the first waypoint. And I lied, we're not going to use 2 waypoints, we're going to use 3 waypoints for these guys. Please don't get stuck, please don't. Okay. Man, how many times have I gotten stuck and died? That really stinks. Now unfortunately we have to use at least diamond or better because we need the state of, we need emerald gates, don't we? Oh, we do. Alright, fine. That's fine. Doesn't matter what kind of emerald, just emerald gates. We'll grab some more later. But I actually need 4 waypoints here, and so 3 times 4 is going to be 12, so I have plenty more docking stations. It's a lot resource intensive, this, but it's going to work pretty well. So we're going to set the waypoints. We need 1 for the blue, 1 for the red. Each one of these needs to have its own sort of system, and then we need 2 for the return trip. I can't just put them on the same one. I can't even put them on the same block because they have to be told to go to different stations specifically. So let's go ahead and mark this station. This will be the one on the right, so we'll use red equals right. And I'll show you kind of what we're going to be doing here. And so this will be the one on the red. On the right is going to be told to go to that one once it's done. And likewise, this guy will be told to go to the other one when it's done. Okay, so let me go ahead and set that up, and I'll be right back. Yay, we did it! So this is waypoint number 1, and I actually misspoke. I mentioned that there are 4 waypoints. I meant 4 docking stations per waypoint, and actually figured it out. We're still just going to be able to get by with 2 waypoints, so that's okay. Even though this one's pretty close, the rest we should be able to do with just 1 more waypoint. And each waypoint needs 4 docking stations, and if it wasn't clear why, 2 of them are for going this way, and 2 of them are for going that way. And the reason why there's 2 per direction is because there are 2 robots, and each robot kind of needs its own system, its own designation, because otherwise there is a high risk of robots being told to go to stations that already contain robots, and that I don't know if that's going to be a problem. It seems like that would be a problem. But anyways, This left station is being told once a robot enters this left station, it's being told to go to the station down there that will be dropping off fluids, and the left one is going to the one that sends out a blue pipe signal, and this one is being told to go to the right one, which sends out a red pipe signal. And likewise, those two are then being told, the red one is being told to go to this right one, and the left one is being told to go to the left one. And they're not set up to go to their next stations because that's what we're about to do. So we're at X of 67. So I actually built a little tunnel that I wanted the robots to go through, and so they're actually going to get to go through them now. Hopefully I don't get stuck into a wall. Oh, thank you. But we are at, X67. We're not really moving too much in the Y direction, so I want to keep that minimal. But that little platform there, hopefully we can land on it. Yep, we can. This should be fine. X130 or so, so that should be fine. That should be reachable by the robots, and it's really not too far at all to the next stations, so this should be okay. We might even go a little bit closer. So I'm going to go ahead and set up some stations, and there's the exit to our little tunnel right there. So I'll be setting up some stations, and I'll be right back. Here is waypoint 2, so I'm going to set up the points to the stations. I have 2 map locations just to make this a bit easier. So the left one is the left map location is the left station. The right one is the right station. We can't set up any of this logic right now, and we'll set up this logic when we come back. So let me go back to waypoint 1, and we'll mark the other ones and do things and blah blah blah. Meet you there. Back at waypoint number 1, the left map location was for the left station. So there you go. I mean, it doesn't actually matter. We can mix these up if we want. The right one is for the right station. There you go. The important thing is that these are different. So 125, 89, 427, 125, 89, 426. So that's the ones right next to each other. So we're going to actually mark the over here, the return trip, the left one with the left, and the right one with the right. And we're going to go back to waypoint 2 for the whole mess again. Back at waypoint 2, this time facing the other way, and once again, this one we're going to be set to robot and station, go to the one that said waypoint on the left, and the same thing over in here. This one is going to be saying waypoint on the right. Okay, and then the last thing to do is to set up those stations over there with the same type of circuitry and logic. And then we are good to go. So I'll be going ahead and doing that, and I'll see you in a bit. Okay, the last step. You can start to see the circuitry under there. We'll get there in a minute. So let's just say that from those stations, we actually want it to go to these 2 waypoints. So let's mark them. So we have the left map location for the left station, right map location for the right station. If I switch these things up, it's not really going to be a big deal. It'll just make me unhappy because it won't be really nice and even. Okay, so this should work just fine, actually. This is really cool. So we can do this with 2 waypoints. This is definitely close enough. Alright, so you'll see very similar setup underneath here, and exactly the same thing as before. Hopper gate timer, edge trigger, hopper gate timer, edge trigger. And here's the 2 torches. This time they are off. So they'll flicker on when the timer finishes, which will tell it to go to a station. In this case, the left one, the blue, is going to be told to go to the left station, and the right one is going to be told to go to the right station over here. So this number, 125, 89, 424, is different than 125, 89, 425. That's the important thing, and I will clean up this this circuitry in a little bit later. Not clean it up, but I should say cover it up a bit later. Maybe with some window into it, just so because it looks kind of cool. And now it's time to set our robots and make them go. So let me grab the robots, and we will just about close out this episode. It's been another kind of long one, but hopefully it's been pretty enjoyable. So let's go ahead and watch our robots get to work. Well, we're back where we started with our twirling robots. Let's grab them and go. So these guys, whoa, almost went to the nether. But these guys are ready to go. They are fully powered. Well, it's kind of. So, but we're ready to go. And you might be wondering, there's no power station on this robot route. Well, you are correct. And, well, if that's not, that's fine. It's no big deal, right? So this guy is, let's just place him here. And you'll notice that they're not going to do anything here. This is kind of a fail-safe. This is a little test situation. They don't do anything here, right? So they have nothing to do, but what are they going to do? Well, the placing them there started the timer, and as you see, as soon as the timer finished, they're now going to waypoint number 1. So they didn't actually have anything to drop off, but that's no big deal. And it works just fine. So here we go. They're going to waypoint 1. We'll try to follow them in their little sequence. Oh, and this guy's going to waypoint 2, followed by his little friend. And I think they're going to use my tunnel. Oh, dear Lord, please use the tunnel. Please use the tunnel. It's really cool. You didn't use the tunnel. That's fine. It's no big deal. I guess it's quicker to go your way. Whatever, stupid robots. I don't care. They're taking the way up the mountain because they're climbing. They're mountaineers, I guess. Mountaineering robots. This is a weird way to get here. Oh, I missed. I'm so bad at everything. It's okay, I got some time to do. Here we go. Okay, there's one of the robots right now. He's making his way. They're going above the mountain. I'm probably going to actually try to either widen that or something, maybe. Maybe they won't use it because it's not wide enough. Not sure. But anyways, here they go. Waypoint number 2. This guy's heading down, so we got 2 of them. Kind of in a staggered formation, and now they're heading to do their job of pumping oil. So let's see. Here we go. This should be fuller of oil, but I'm not really sure why it doesn't have more oil in it. It's actually really kind of confusing. It should be full of oil, unless it may not have rendered all the way. Well, it's doing it now. So they are pumping oil, it looks like. Yep, the oil level is going down. It's weird. Maybe it's not rendering that properly. Either way. I'll fix that later. But, okay, so this guy, he finished pumping oil, and he has oil now, and he went to sleep briefly. You could see that. That's why he was black for a while, and on his way back. So cool. This appears to work brilliantly and swimmingly. We will go through a cycle, but this is pretty much it, guys. So this will do it for this episode. In next episode, we will fix the issue that we've now created. We don't have a place for these guys to get power, or at least we only have one location for them to get power. And this was a problem before that I never actually went into. Oh, wait, actually they might go through the tunnel. They might do it. They might do it on the return trip. Come on, do it, do it, do it. Really? I really want them to go through this tunnel. Hey, the one guy did. Awesome. And this guy is taking a weird route, but that's fine. Dude, the guy going through the tunnel is totally going to win. Totally going to win. Totally going to win. I might have to have a few different tunnels. See, look, the guy going through the tunnel totally won. But anyways, one of these guys is pretty low on power, so we're going to have to give them some places where they can get power. Yeah, it's okay. Just go right through me. It's fine. Sweet. All right, so great. This is great. Hey, we fixed the waypoint path. We fixed the 96 block problem, the pathfinding problem, and as you see now, we are well on our way to once again having fully functioning robots. He's now dropping off his oil and doing his job. All right, guys, that'll do it for this episode, and thank you once again for watching. I hope this was an encouraging episode, and I hope actually the Buildcraft developers see how awesome waypoints would be if they made stations into waypoints, so they might make this obsolete. But we did it on our own using redstone and the behavior of robots. So, thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully it was informative, and hopefully you had a good time. I did making this episode. See you next time. Take care. Bye-bye now. Woo. Use it, use it, use it, use the tunnel, use the tunnel! Oh, really? You're just gonna climb the mountain? We got climbers over here. Hey.